Today on the official Marvel podcast, we hear from executive producer and head writer of Marvel Television's Wonder Man, Andrew Guest.
It was, to me, the most ideal Marvel project I could think of, because from the beginning, they wanted to do something that felt different, and they wanted to write about Hollywood.
Plus, he's been an actor, he's been a terrorist, he's even been a friend to mystical animals. We're recapping what Trevor Slattery has been up to in the MCU ahead of his latest appearance in Wonder Man.
And to round things out, we'll learn all about the film and television casting process with Casting Associate Leah Shapiro and find out what it takes for someone like Simon Williams to land his Hollywood dream role.
Sometimes the best thing is when I'm watching something and I kind of forget that casting hat of mine because I'm just so lost in the performance. And if anything, then I look back and I reflect on my watching experience and I'm like, that's an actor I want to remember.
I'm Daniel Omoto.
I'm Ryan Omoto.
And this is the official Marvel podcast.
If you're wondering why your usual hosts aren't in your headphones right now,
it's because Thanos snapped them away.
He's just kidding. Don't worry. They'll be back. This week, though, my brother Daniel and I are stepping in as guest hosts.
And we're beyond excited to be here. If you're new to us, we're known as Just the Nobodies. You could find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And we've even got a podcast of our own. We usually cover all things Marvel and talk about whatever's trending in pop culture.
Not to mention, we're also casting a little movie called Marvel Studios' Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, just a small little indie film done by our friends, the Russos.
Yeah, Joe and Anthony, they're up-and-coming directors. Now, while we're thrilled to be guest hosting the official Marvel podcast, we're also hyped about the upcoming Marvel television series Wonder Man, starring Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Simon Williams.
And the official Marvel podcast co-host Sade Spence got the chance to sit down with executive producer and head writer of Wonder Man, Andrew Guest. They talked all about the series and what fans can expect when it premieres next week. Take a listen.
Andrew, I got to tell you that I am really excited. I'm ecstatic for this show because, one, I am from Los Angeles County, and two, I am in the entertainment acting, presenter world, and it just feels so relatable. So excited to talk to you today. First off, let's take it back, and can you tell us about how you originally got involved with Marvel Studios?
It was the Sunday before Thanksgiving in 2020. So it was early COVID, lockdown, not much was shooting in Los Angeles. I got a call from Joe Russo. I know the Russos very well from working with them on Community. And it was 3 p.m. on Sunday. And Joe said, hey, are you available in the short term? Our friend Trin, who produced all our movies, needs a new head writer on this series they're doing. Can I give her your name? And I said, sure. 3 minutes later, Trin calls me, says, we start shooting the show in a week and a half in New York, and we want to rewrite the whole thing. I'm going to send you 6 episodes today. We'll meet tomorrow and discuss. And that was Hawkeye. And the next day I met with her and Brad and sort of talked about what I thought was working, what wasn't working. And they said, great. And we closed a deal that night. And I started working around the clock remotely as we started shooting and kept feeding them stuff. And it was in many ways a great introduction to Marvel because I needed all the help I could get from them. And we were all just in the trenches together in this really wonderful way. Marvel producers are very hands-on, and I was grateful to have hands-on help. And we shaped a show that we all were very happy with. Yeah, that was my first experience thrown in the deep end.
It is great to hear that you got so much support as you dove into the universe. And that help was from Marvel Studios production and development executive Trin Tran and head of television, streaming, and animation Brad Winderbaum. And now you've developed Wonder Man with Destin Daniel Cretton, who, of course, directed Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Wonder Man has an interesting origin as a Marvel project because originally Destin was shooting Shang-Chi and loved working with Sir Ben Kingsley and turned to his producing partner on that show, Jonathan Schwartz, and said, hey, we should do a show where Trevor goes to Hollywood. Basically because Destin wanted to keep working with Ben Kingsley, and who can blame him? They started getting serious about that idea and then learned that it wasn't going to happen because there was a competing project already in the works at Marvel, that Stephen Broussard and Brian Gay were planning on doing a Wonder Man show, which was going to be set in Hollywood. And at a certain point, somebody realized, well, maybe it's the same show. And it was, to me, the most ideal Marvel project I could think of, because from the beginning, they wanted to do something that felt different, and they wanted to write about Hollywood. And I have found myself writing about Hollywood in my free time. I am fascinated by this world, as many of us who are trying to work in this industry often are.
Wonder Man is such a unique show within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. How did you and the team approach this show?
We essentially all were coming together from the same place of like, how do we write about Hollywood? And how does Simon give us an entryway into writing stories about the entertainment industry? For me, it was all about, from my first pitch, trying to figure out who Simon Williams was, what his relationship to superheroes and superpowers was, and what his relationship to acting and entertainment was, and how to balance those things, and which was the area of conflict for him.
It kind of feels like the show's going to answer the question, what's harder, being a working actor or being a superhero?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think so. I mean, listen, for me, it's really a platonic love story between two narcissists who, through their friendship, start taking baby steps to thinking about other people outside of themselves. And it's also about that sort of tension between why we want to tell stories. Is it meaningful? And what are we willing to do to get those stories out there?
The show seems like such a love letter to Los Angeles. You talk about Hollywood, we see it in the trailer, and also like a love letter to the diversity of those neighborhoods. How did you really capture the feeling of the city in this series?
Our art directors, Cindy and Michelle, who Destin had worked with before on American Born Chinese, are LA natives. Their presentation was so incredible because they wanted to explore all the corners of LA that don't typically get seen. And LA is so diverse. And originally, one of the things that we talked about in the writer's room was having each episode be a different corner of LA. And we do a little bit of that. Simon Williams lives in Hollywood because every first struggling person who gets to this town starts out in either West Hollywood or Hollywood. And it was fun when we were talking about the look of Simon's apartment. We all had apartments with the vertical blinds and the terrible parking space underneath that you really can't fit into. And we all got to talk about our experience of trying to make it in this industry and moving to this city. And that carried on even when it came to the crew. Like, this show felt personal to everybody because it was about us. This show is about all the people who try to make stories.
And considering that the show is set within the entertainment industry, did you all have any meta experiences when writing and shooting scenes involving the actors and the writers working on set?
We did. I mean, initially, so I wrote a pilot without knowing who we were going to cast as Simon Williams. So I had to make some choices about how Simon was going to be on the page. And then once we started talking to Yaya, which was really terrific, he pushed me and all of us to tell him what Simon's background is, like where we were like, he's first generation. Okay, where was his parents born? What was their experience like? And the more we sort of had to answer those questions, the more that stuff started working its way into the show. But it also Simon and Yaya aren't all that different. You meet Simon Williams in the pilot, in his first scene. He's got 3 lines on an American Horror Story episode, and he's got a ton of questions about his character because he's done the homework. So in some ways, Yaya and Simon ain't that different. So it was really fun.
Mm-hmm. And what are you most excited for fans to see in the series? And what are you hoping they'll also take away from the show?
I'm excited for fans to see what the MCU can do that it hasn't done before in terms of storytelling. My hope was that we did the work on this relationship so that every step of it felt earned, that Simon and Trevor really start out not knowing each other, have nothing to do with each other. And the circumstances that bring them together, I don't want to ruin at this moment. But the relationship that develops beyond those circumstances, I wanted to feel real. And hopefully that is the thing that people feel some attachment to and some curiosity about, and something that pulls you through and makes you want to know what goes on between these two people and how things will resolve between them. People who've grown up with Marvel will love the show, and people who've never watched a Marvel project who probably think it's not really for them might find the show and decide that actually, there's something that they can take away from this.
Awesome. Incredible. Thank you so much, Andrew, for all of your time today and everything you shared about Wonder Man. Again, I'm so excited, and I'm sure everyone else is that much more pumped now that they've heard you spill on it. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's great to meet you.
The MCU is full of hilarious comic relief performances that keep audiences laughing in the midst of the sky-high save-the-universe stakes.
Some of them have become such fan favorites that they've appeared alongside multiple heroes. Darcy Lewis started in the Thor movies before she landed in Marvel Studios' WandaVision, and the OG MCU comic relief character Happy Hogan started as Iron Man's pal before joining the Spider-Man family.
And today we're going to talk about another shining example, a man who needs no introduction.
But he would insist you do it anyway.
Fair point. He's a renowned thespian, an international terrorist.
It's Trevor Slattery! Sir Ben Kingsley's performance is untouchable, and Trevor's character arc from supervillain scapegoat to hero in the magical realm Talo is quite the journey.
Well, our story starts where all great stories begin, at the end, in the third and final film in the Iron Man trilogy.
In Marvel Studios' Iron Man 3, we're introduced to a mysterious and highly dangerous figure called the Mandarin. Tony Stark's friend Happy Hogan is injured when the Mandarin sets off a bomb in Los Angeles, sending Tony, aka Iron Man, on a very personal quest for justice.
Here's a little holiday greeting I've been wanting to send to the Mandarin. I just didn't know how to phrase it until now. My name is Tony Stark, and I'm not afraid of you. I know you're a coward. So I've decided that you just died, pal. I'm gonna come get the body.
Man, this has to be one of the top 5 coldest lines in the MCU.
I will say, Tony was really out for blood when Happy got messed up.
Tony and his best friend James Rhodes, aka War Machine, are able to track down the lair of the Mandarin.
Not to be like all actually, but War Machine received a red, white, and blue paint job and is technically Iron Patriot here.
All right, okay, let's get all technical about it, okay? But when Tony finally comes face to face with the Mandarin, things are not what they appear to be.
This is the Mandarin?
I know, it's embarrassing.
Tony and Rhodey have unmasked the Mandarin and discover it's really just a down-on-his-luck actor named Trevor Slattery.
Heard enough. You're not him, the Mandarin, the real guy.
Where? Where's the Mandarin? Where is it? Whoa. He's here. He's here, but he's not here. He's here, but he's not here.
What do you mean?
It's complicated. Hey, it's complicated,
It
right?
is.
It's complicated.
Did you know Jimmy Stewart was considering a life of international crime before It's a Wonderful Life?
Wait, really?
No.
Okay, so back to the story. It turns out rival scientist and industrialist Aldrich Killian is behind the whole thing.
Killian is feeling a little resentful of Tony Stark, who rudely rejected a collaboration with him years earlier.
So, Killian does what we all do in the face of a personal slight. He comes up with a plan to eliminate the president of the United States and install his own puppet president.
You know, real bad guy stuff.
Yeah, so Killian needs a public face for his own criminal schemes, so he ropes in Trevor Slattery, offering the oblivious actor the role of a lifetime, portraying a terrorist named the Mandarin to draw attention away from Killian.
And when Tony and Rhodey confront Trevor, he heroically spills the beans on the whole plan.
His think tank thinked it up.
The pathology of a serial killer. The manipulation of Western iconography. Ready for another lesson?
Blah, blah, blah.
After Iron Man takes down Killian, we see Slattery next in the Marvel Studios one-shot All Hail the King. Trevor finds himself in prison where, thanks to his charm and fame, he obviously ends up running the place.
Bloody hell. It's not exactly the Ritz, is it?
Hey! Stop right there! Come on, Mr. Slattery. You know you're supposed to wait for me. Lunchtime ain't safe around here for a celebrity like yourself.
Unfortunately, no amount of celebrity can protect Trevor from the reach of the true Mandarin, Wenwu. He's the head honcho of the Ten Rings, a criminal organization which has existed for centuries. Wenwu has heard of Trevor Slattery's impressions of him and, surprisingly, isn't flattered at all.
Which is totally understandable. So Wenwu sends Trevor to yet another prison, which is where we pick up Slattery's story in Marvel Studios' Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And wouldn't you know it, Trevor performs his way out of yet another dire situation. I mean, you can't tell me this man doesn't have powers. This dude gets out of every situation he's in. Trevor escapes certain death by charming his way into becoming a performer for the Ten Rings, which is, I guess, sort of the opposite of a captive audience because Trevor's the one in prison.
It's like the tables have now turned. That is until a chance encounter with hero Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi and his sister Xiaoling and his friend Katie also find themselves locked in Wenwu's prison. Oh, I should mention that Wenwu is Shang-Chi and Xiaoling's father, so they're a close family.
And Wenwu believes he could find the location of a mystical village called Ta Lo. Wenwu is convinced that his wife and mother of Shang-Chi and Xiaoling has been trapped behind the gates in Ta Lo and is willing to destroy the entire village unless they release her to him.
Things look dim for our heroes until they come across Trevor and his not-so-imaginary friend, Morris.
What the hell? What the frick? Oh! What is that? What is that? Oh! Who?
What's what?
That! What is that?
You can see Morris.
Morris?
Oh, Morris! They can see you. You're real. All this time I thought I was hallucinating him.
Yes, we all love Morris, everyone's favorite six-legged, furry, faceless, wing-seen stealer. Well, it turns out that Morris used to kick it with Shang-Chi's mother and knows the way to Ta Lo. The group is able to eventually escape the prison and make their way through an ever-shifting maze of bamboo to the village of Ta Lo.
This is really cool and all, but how long do we have to sit here?
Morris is very clear. The way through is all about timing.
Okay, but how long are we talking? Like hours, days?
Friends. I'm but a transitory vessel for the infinite wisdom of a creature far more advanced than we will ever truly understand. What he sees, what he feels of this vast unknown universe is beyond anything our simple brains can... Oh, you can go.
Trevor joins his new friends in the defense of the village of Ta Lo, and together they defeat Wenwu, saving the day.
And we're going to be able to see Sir Ben Kingsley's Trevor Slattery in Marvel Television's Wonder Man, which obviously I cannot wait for.
It really does look amazing, and unlike anything we've ever seen in the MCU before.
Yeah, but before we leave Trevor Slattery behind, I do want to listen to one more clip where Trevor charms us with the origins of his journey as an actor.
1968, Planet of the Apes. I was sitting in the cinema next to my mum, watching mastery unfold before my very eyes. After the film, I asked her, how did they get those monkeys to do those things? And she patted me on the head and she said, it's not real, pet. It's just acting. That's when I knew. If they can teach those monkeys to act that brilliantly, just imagine what I could bring to the world.
I mean, come on, how could you not root for this guy?
Yeah, we have to at least throw Trevor an honorary Oscar. The dude had like the whole world fooled.
Marvel Studios' Iron Man 3, All Hail the King, and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings are all streaming now only on Disney+.
So Ryan, have you ever wondered how an actor like Simon Williams gets cast as Wonder Man? Like how that whole experience even happens in the real world of movies and TV?
You mean you don't just ask the Russo brothers like, hey, can I be in your next 2 Avengers movies? And they're like, yeah, sure.
I don't think that's how it normally works, but luckily we've got an industry expert joining us now to break it all down and help us make sense of how it all works. Check it out.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor to have you on the official Marvel podcast. Can you introduce yourself to the audience and let them know what you do?
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here. My name is Leah Shapiro. I'm a casting director. I would say I primarily work as an associate casting director on, I would say, more mainstream projects for a lot of wonderful, amazing casting directors here in New York, but also work as a casting director for myself on other independent films, short films, and stuff like that.
And can you share kind of like what does a casting director do, just for the people at home that may not know?
Basically, we're in charge of casting every role from the leads to one line. So anything else, if it's non-speaking, that usually comes from a different department. But we're the shepherds to help the director find the cast and the actors to build out a TV show or a film. So a big part of our days are auditioning actors and seeing them really actually read for the product that we're making.
It's very important role.
Yeah, very important when it comes to film and TV.
It is. And I feel like people don't think about it or know about it that much. So I'm so happy to be speaking on it.
Yeah, so Leia, in the Marvel Comics, Wonder Man, in his not-so-secret identity of Simon Williams, he's an actor in Hollywood who's always looking for his next big role. And no doubt he's getting called in a lot because not only is he a superhero, he's also an Avenger. So in the real world, how do you find talent? And also, where do you start to look?
I mean, every casting director would probably say this, but for me specifically, the longer you're working, the more actors you're meeting and you're auditioning. And so you kind of really build your own Rolodex and repertoire of your favorite actors. And I will always say, like, that's such a win for actors in general, is making a good relationship with the casting office. It's not always booking the role, but it's coming in, putting your best foot forward, doing the best job you can, because then you're on our minds to come in again. So I would say that's one way. I love casting in New York because we have all the theater actors here. I think it's such a privilege when casting local New York stuff to be able to, really utilize them. And then, of course, also just watching as much TV as I can, just to kind of stay on the pulse of who's up and coming and who's in the world. It's a lot to keep track of. So often we do look to like our agent and manager friends to keep us informed as well.
So when you're watching like movies and TV, you kind of have a different perspective because you're not only watching for the art of it, but you're also watching for like the actors and actresses and their performances and how they can fit in other areas.
100%, which sometimes the best thing is when I'm watching something and I kind of forget that casting hat of mine because I'm just so lost in the performance. And if anything, then I look back and I reflect on my watching experience and I'm like, that's an actor I want to remember.
I see. And, I know sometimes directors, when they're writing a film, they're like, we have this actor in mind from the very beginning. So how much would you say casting is driven by a director? And does it vary project to project?
I would say casting is always driven by the director. The most fruitful projects are the ones where a director has a strong vision and an opinion. We have our own styles and creative ways of making that happen, but it's all to, ultimately put together this final project that's in the director's eyes.
So Leah, for you, what is the relationship like between casting directors and agents for actors?
So we work very closely with agents and managers kind of at every stage along the process in different ways. So I would say in the beginning of a project, when we're casting, they're pitching us their clients. We're checking in with them about a certain actor's availability and interests on a project. This is something that I think a lot of people don't know about casting is that besides the leads that often the studio will handle their deals, casting does the majority of the deal making. So we are making the offer to the agents of, what their billing will be, what their trailer dressing room will be, all those facets. We're doing that math. We're looking at the schedule. And so we're kind of the liaison between the agents and production.
What is it like working on a project where some roles are already cast, like existing film franchises or long-running TV shows where you kind of have to cast around an existing cast?
I actually just did this. I just worked on The Devil Wears Prada 2.
That's so cool.
It was very fun. But like you said, there were existing amazing Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, Stanley Tucci, Emily Blunt, these core and iconic actors from the first one. And in the case of Devil Wears Prada, in some ways it's a slightly easier job, I will say, in that you're not doing the search for those big leads that have to carry a show. I haven't done this, but I know a lot of casting, they work on, multiple seasons of a TV show, and you're kind of really in your groove then because you have the leads, but you're kind of casting the guest stars and the co-stars, and it's a really fun process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Leah, when you're casting a project, what are you looking for when you're looking at the actor besides just acting ability? Are there other things that you're looking at and other factors?
I love talking about this because acting is such a hard profession, right? And it's so often not about the acting. It's about the look they're going for. It's about the chemistry with another person. It's about we're creating a family. And so do you look like the parents that we have cast already? There are so many pieces to the puzzle that it's so much beyond acting ability. And so many of the people we see are all amazing and wonderful actors. It's just do they fit into this particular puzzle?
Right, exactly. What is some of the most common mistakes you see actors make during the audition?
I think what they should really focus on is coming in and doing the work, exactly what we asked of you. And we like to have a good time. We can chat a little, but, you want to stand out for your talent and what you brought to the role and kind of nothing else in that initial audition. That's what we want to remember you by.
Sometimes, some of our friends, hundreds of auditions, a lot of failed auditions, but because they did those, the casting director says hey, I remember you from this. Would you come read for this? Is that something that happens a lot where you remember somebody hey, let's call them?
All the time. I think it's too much pressure for actors to have booking the job be the win. Just realistically, the odds are kind of always stacked against you. As long as it's a good read, even if it's not right for this particular project, I think it's a huge win for them and for us. We are rooting for you. We want them to be comfortable and feel good and do the best they can because then we look good. If they look good, we look good. If actors succeed, we succeed.
Well, Leah, thank you so much for your time and teaching us about the casting
Yes.
process, because I honestly learned so much.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
Thank you so much, Leah.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you.
In Wonder Man number 5 from 2007, written by Peter David, we follow the story of Simon Williams' efforts to rehabilitate a deadly assassin named Lady Killer, which is no small task at all. Lady Killer puts up a fight literally and emotionally. She tries to escape, she avoids her feelings, and she pushes her reformers away. She resists any kindness that is offered to her. But after some tough, compassionate conversations, Lady Killer lives up to her second chance and becomes Lady Fair. However, by the end of the series, her reformation results in a tragic conclusion. After overcoming her stubbornness and forming a romantic attachment with Simon, Lady Fair sacrifices herself to save the Avengers. And as Simon Williams reflects on his time with her and honors her memory, he declares, "Sometimes even the most formidable walls, like the ones we build around ourselves, can be overcome. If someone's just willing to look at it and wonder what's behind it."
All right, guys, it's been fun hosting the official Marvel podcast, but that's all we got for you this week. You can find us on our own podcast, Just the Nobodies, as well as on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
The official Marvel podcast will be back next week with Wonder Man's supervising location manager, Kevin Funston.
Maybe 90% of everything on location, I mean, we didn't try to fake it. It's all real.
This episode was hosted by Daniel Omoto and me, Ryan Omoto, featuring Sade Spence.
The official Marvel podcast is produced by Jasmine Estrada and Anita Flores. Additional editing by Rye Dorsey and additional writing by Michael Spadaccini.
Brad Barton is the senior manager of audio production and development. Emily Godfrey is the production manager.
Mixed by Emma Munger.
Theme music by Ida Akbal.
Larissa Rosen is the executive producer.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Guys, this has been really fun. Thank you so much for having us.